Hello everyone and welcome back to Perception Paradox. My name is Zivile and today we continuing our weekly episodes of Perception Paradox podcast where we focus on entrepreneurship, philosophy, health and in general life. And 2026 it seems like it's been a roller coaster. It's been really up to speed. Everyone with whom I talk is like, oh, I did not expect such an acceleration, such a speed that the January is almost gone. So same on this side. I can't believe that we are almost welcoming February. Nevertheless, today's episode on Perception Paradox is with a good old friend of mine, Egita Polanska, who is an investor and partner at the Outlast Fund. They went live and launched the fund last year, located in Latvia, but they do work across the Nordic and Baltic countries. And yeah, we discuss with her just her journey in the startup ecosystem, her transition from working with the founders in different roles and then to actually launching a fund, and the challenges and opportunities that come with this role. She also shares the importance of resilience and passion in founders, emphasizing that successful startups are built on solving real problems rather than just riding trends. So the conversation also touches on the evolving landscape of the tech industry, particularly the impact of AI, and the turn to foundational principles in startup development. So I hope you enjoy it this year with Perception Paradox. Lots of great content ahead, and now just let's dive in. Real people, real stories, and real challenges that break the status quo. I'm your host, Zivile, and welcome to Perception Paradox. Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Perception Paradox, and today I have with me Egita Polanska, broliukas Latviukas or sesutė Latviukė. She's coming from a neighboring country, from Latvia, and we met with her like long time ago. I would say it's nearly a decade. We're getting there. And Egita is someone who has been in the startup world for a long time, different roles, different hats. But what I always found that she's been very close to the founders, and she was up front there helping them, guiding them, and right now she's part of the Outlast Fund, who's been doing quite great in the Baltic scene. And yeah, Egita, welcome to Perception Paradox.
Thank you for having me. It's a very great honor to be here.
Ooh!
Finally.
Finally. Yeah, I'm very happy too. So yeah.
Indeed. I think it's been a decade since we know each other. So quite a lot of events and a lot of things done together and experienced together.
100%. Well, you're one of those people with whom we really went to many conferences together and shared the housing, and like we were each other's wing women, and going to experience the tech scene, meet people, and yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice. Sometimes I feel now it feels a little bit different at the events. I don't know, maybe it's just me getting older.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, but it's been many events, right? So of course it's changing the dynamics of the events, and the generations are changing as well. So also
Exactly. That's the getting older part, you know.
but that's also, I think, we spent so many years in the tech scene and the events that, and now with all the technological change, the landscape is shifting in the tech scene. The experiences are also gaining some new colors. So that's great to experience that too. And for you, since it's been a year now since when Outlast Fund launched, and you got yourself officially an investor hat, and in less than a year, you've done quite a decent amount of investments as well. So maybe it's a good conversation starter for today. How did that whole idea of Outlast Fund begin? And what brought you right now to 2026 with nearly 11 investments?
Yeah, that's a bit, I guess, longer story.
Let's go.
I think I don't know. I've had an investor hat, but I guess not my own personal, because Outlast Fund is the very first fund that I'm partner, and we're sharing it with, like, we're 4 partners in general, so we are building it together.
Yeah.
I had an investor hat already for, well, sort of investor hat, or the investor trainee hat for almost 10 years. I used to work at Startup Wise Guys for 7 years. And I also had a chance to experience how it is on the other side of the ocean 10 years ago in Techstars in Seattle. So that was actually one of the first experiences into the startup and the investor world. And I got super lucky with my, say, colleagues and bosses, because they allowed me as a intern associate to pretty much join all the meetings, listen in, see how they're working with the startups. So that kind of put me on a base how things happen, let's say, or how I think they should happen. Or I saw, I think it was in 2013, which when I left Baltics, Latvia, at that time, there was not that much of, investors, accelerators. There was only the first startups kind of popping up. So it was super cool experience to see how it happens in US. And then when I came back, kind of my path still stayed on the investor side. I was working with different organizations in the startup ecosystem, also nonprofit, so TechHub, TechChill conference as well. So it's always been about the ecosystem, not only the pure investor hat, but about everything that's happening, helping the startups to be created, to grow, to invest in them. But I think also kind of building this sort of support system that everyone needs, because I think at the end of the day, being a founder is a bit of it's a bit of a crazy adventure, I think, that everyone is joining. And yeah, kind of over all these years, I think I got to know how the investors are investing, working. I grew my own experience through Startup Wise Guys programs. You mentioned I kind of worked with the founders a lot. That was part of my job, kind of checking in through their program weekly, kind of going through, well, not exactly going through the same issues, but when you kind of check in with them weekly, you kind of see all the ups, but you also see all the downs, you see the progress, you see the struggles. So at some point, it felt also a little bit, kind of, those are my struggles as well.
Personal.
Not, but still. And then I think Outlast just, I guess it was a good timing. I knew Maria for 10 years. I knew Kristaps for a couple of years, and I met Michaela through Kristaps. And I think Outlast Fund, it was just, I think as always in life, it's about the great timing. All of us had different experiences. We kind of walked our own paths in the investment and startup ecosystem. And then I think 2-3 years ago, we ended up, like, I left Startup Wise Guys. I think Maria had changed, like there was changes in the her, let's say, role. Kristaps, Michaela, the same. And we just sat together and we saw, well, why not now? Why not create something together, our own, and also in the Baltics, which is, for me, I spent a lot of years traveling around Europe with the programs, with different events. And then I realized at some point I just want to come back home and do maybe something here.
Okay, that's very inspiring. And how did you come up with the name?
We had different options. So for, I think, half a year or even more, we didn't really have a name. We had some names that we just used for ourselves. But then the name actually is, we did like a lady who works for the communications, let's say, marketing agency. She's a good friend, and she helped us with the naming, and she actually came up with the name. So thanks to her. But when we did, all these a little bit of workshops explaining how we feel about ourselves, the culture, and then the Outlast popped up. And at some point, we just realized that that's something that we kind of have felt all along, but we just couldn't put, the name on it. I think it's like, when you see all the things too much, you can't really proofread yourself, or that type of the thing. So I think it's the same with Outlast. So when we saw it, we knew this is it. Because it's about, I guess, for ourselves as well. I've been in the startup ecosystem for 10 years. I've seen a lot of ups and downs. But at the end of the day, it's like outlasting that. You need to kind of persevere, you need to be resilient, not delusional. Well, slightly a little bit delusional again as well. I guess if you want to be, if you're our founder, but then outlasting all those things, outlasting competition, being persistent, resilient, and building the business and building, let's say, the dream. Most of the founders start with a dream that they want to achieve. And it not necessarily means that it's the same dream that they started with, but I guess being resilient and building something that they truly believe is something we want to support.
And you've been supporting this year already quite some founders, right? How did you got into this groundbreaking number of investments, and where did you spot your founders?
I guess we were too passionate about, setting the fund up. So we only closed the fund last year in June. But we have been already scouting the founders during also the setup process. Because, as all good investors, we also have the FOMO. We can't let the good deals go away. So we were always looking for founders. So we ended up closing this year, not only the fund, but also quite a lot of number of investments, so let's say in Baltics and in Nordics. So a little bit all over this region, which is, I think, also really a nice thing, because later on when we plan to bring the founders together, I think it's super cool when they can share these differences and meet each other. But how did we find them? It's a good question. Usually they come to us through either we meet them at the events or someone recommends them. So for example, half of our team, 2 partners, are also in Stockholm. They're living there and they have their own, let's say, network and the ecosystem. So a couple of our investments came through that network, just seeing what's out there. And in Baltics, we're trying to meet everyone, we're trying to meet everyone who's building a business, who's thinking about building a business, or meeting those people, who are the community or ecosystem builders who most likely know someone who's building a business.
So you've been in the startup scene for a really long time, and you've been running and contributing to many different programs, including, let's say, cybersecurity, etc. Right now, we have a huge hype of AI. We can see that the health area is also rising within the startup scene. So what would be your observations? Where are we right now in 2026 when it comes to the startup founders trends, and what's hot, and what's a hype only?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'm knowing and seeing how things are evolving, it's very hard to make any predictions, because I think any prediction that has been made for 2025, I don't know. For me, I felt like a lot of things happened, and I feel like for 2026 also quite a lot of things will happen. And I think, the world has been quite adventurous place, let's say, recently. And we never know what's coming. But I think with AI, of course, AI has been the biggest, let's say, trend and talking point for already a couple of years. I think in 2026, we'll see a little bit of this hype slowing down. I think there was quite a lot of hype 2-3 years ago when everything started to happen. Everyone experimented. There was all these companies like early adopters for the AI that got quite a lot of users because they were doing something new, they were doing something cool. And then I think everyone was doing something. We saw and I think it's the same as with any other trends that I've also seen in the past, like, for example, fintech trend. There was blockchain and everything. At first, when there's technology or something new coming into the market, there are, of course, the first early adopters, and sometimes they can grow really big. Then comes the masses. And then it's very hard, as for us as an investors, I think it's very hard to understand which of these companies can actually build something lasting. At the end of the day, my conclusion is we always look at the founders, because at the early stage, it's about the founders, about their expertise, about them as personalities and human beings, and can they be persistent? Can they actually be resilient through all these times when they will need to change something and adapt to the market? Can they do that? And the rest, I feel like we have to go back to the basics, no matter the hype. Is startups are building business or solution to solve a problem. So if the problem is there, if they're building something better for the competition or better than the competition, I think that's going to be the key for the, let's say, AIs. And I feel like now we're approaching the phase when it's not only about the problem, there's like the secondary problem, you know, the AI infrastructure. Now we need the AI to work faster, better itself. And I think a lot of companies that have solutions before AI, they need to, especially the big enterprises, they're also coming into it, which they usually come later, you know. The startups are the early adopters. They can experiment. The large enterprises usually want to see when the real, like, they want a already tested product. And I think we're at this stage already, but that means quite a lot of things might have to change as well.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
what would
sorry.
be
A lot of AI talk and a lot of thinking.
yes. Yeah, and what would be your key characteristics of someone who's gonna go that long way? What do you look in a founder? Because we speak a lot about resilience and motivation, being delusional maybe a bit, but you still, first of all, as a VC, you need to make money, right? So it's not just giving money. You have to think as an entrepreneur yourself. And then second of all, well, we have great salespeople out there. So how do you identify that it's not just a sales pitch, but it's actually coming from within, that strength to build, and that person has what it takes to?
Yeah, it's a very complex, and you know, we still started the fund just now. So ask me in 5 years, and I can give you the data actually if we succeeded. But I hope we did, and I truly believe that the companies we invested in will achieve great things. But mostly, it's well, the first interaction with the founder is about. It's more about this passion, how they talk about the business, how they talk about the problem that they're solving. That you can sometimes you see there's this spark in their eyes. There's this you know, when you have your hobbies or you like something, you can talk about it for hours. You can just discuss, and it's there's always like interest, there's this enthusiasm. I think that's one of the things, and that's very hard to miss, because when you see it, you can feel that the person likes what they do. But of course, it's not enough, because as you said, we also need to make money, and that's why the investors are. And at the end of the day, startups are also there to build a business, not only solve a problem, which they need to do, but then they also need to make a company out of it. They need to make money. They need to build this business. They need to hire employees. It's not, you cannot always build only on investors' money. And then also, you know, it becomes a very complex thing how to measure it. So that's why when we usually invest, it takes a couple of weeks to go through the process. But I think the first, definitely, to kind of see, the first is this passion and enthusiasm, because if you're not passionate about your startup already in the first conversation or at the beginning, it means that after 1 year or 2 years of very hard things that you have to decide or go through, you probably will, it's going to be just painful. So why why do that to
Why
yourself,
would you do
you
that to
know?
yourself?
Exactly. But if you kind of like it, then no matter what is the challenge, it feels like that the founders, I think they're kind of ready, I guess, to learn and go through this process. Afterwards, we just have like a couple of conversations. Sometimes we ask experts, you know, we try to prove whatever they're believing, because at the end of the day, all the startups start with a lot of beliefs, a lot of assumptions. And then we need to double check if whatever they have perceived as true, for example, that this kind of problem will be solved with their solution, does that make sense? And that's why I'm always saying, if you already have clients, and I think this is like already an old truth, it's nothing new, but it's like, if you already have clients, if someone is using, if someone is trying and testing out your product, that's the best thing that you can provide to investors and also yourself as a founder. If not, then everything becomes quite a lot about these does that make sense questions. And then I think it's, you know, it's just a process of discussing, trying to find another smart people who can either validate, we have quite a lot of other investor friends. We have a lot of industry experts who are working, for example, in that industry that we, as investors, we try to talk to and see if they say, you know what, that sounds something that might work.
Okay.
But a lot of guesses,
A lot of guesses and gut feelings and trust.
There's always a balance between the numbers and like quantitative data, and then all this trust and emotional feeling as well as for the investor.
Okay. And Egita, you've been in this game for a long time and you're not a tourist anymore. What keeps you sticking to the startup scene? Why are you still in the ecosystem and why do you still put so much effort, so many hours to helping founders?
Asking the tough questions now, right? It's a good question. I'm not sure if I have like a very, smart response, like because of this and this. I feel that it's something where I feel the best. I like the part that this industry allows me to experiment quite a lot. So it's not something where you go to the work, which is not a bad thing in general. It's just about, I think, how humans, each of us, are very different, and some of us need a little bit of routine and a little bit of like structure to actually be the better versions of themselves. And for me, I guess I like a little bit of chaos. I like a little bit of this freedom to operate, which also comes with the responsibility, because if I don't succeed, well, then that's my own fault. So I have nothing, no one really to blame for it. But I guess this is just kind of mix of this freedom and opportunities and also challenges. I think that helps me grow as a person, because honestly, I can't remember how many times I've been so scared about going to a new conference, going to meet new people who are especially when I was. Now, maybe after 10 years, it's much easier, but just because I had to go and do all of those things, I still remember how scared I was first time going on, on a stage and talking on a panel. I still am scared. This that yeah, but it gets a little bit easier for myself to get out there and kind of to understand and try all these new things. And I think that
Yeah,
helps to grow professionally and also personally.
totally. So 2026, what do you think we will be looking after this year and where are we going to put our attention?
So you want a positive, the optimistic, pessimistic scenario?
We can do both.
No, I think it's going to change quite a lot. I see, we were talking about this AI hype. I think that's definitely slowing down and the founders are coming back to real problems. I think with AI, there's now been quite a lot of industries that have tried it, but then there are quite a lot of industries that still can benefit from AI on more fundamental level. Like, first of all, health industry. We have invested from our all the companies. Four of the companies are in the health tech industry, so we see that's quite a big trend coming in. Not necessarily only with AI solutions, but also including that. And I think that's still one big challenge that I think for us as a society, as humankind, we all struggle with health. And I think we can definitely do better. And maybe AI somehow also helps us to do better. Another thing that I see where we are coming back, I guess, but for me, it feels like coming back to the basics. Like I remember a couple of maybe 8-ish years ago, there were quite a lot of, those hacker houses. Before all the accelerators,
Oh,
there were
yeah.
hacker houses where you just go build, do something. Then everything moved into more like this business mindset. And now I feel that everything is coming back to all this hacking. Like, I think it's with AI, it's becoming a little bit more accessible to everyone. So you can actually experiment quite a lot. So with our, we also did, we just, my partner Mari, and with Outlast Help, they just opened the shipyard in Riga, which is like a space where all the companies that want to build something with AI just can come sit together and build something. And it's not about the workshops, it's just about actually executing every week. And I know there's quite a lot of similar initiatives all across Europe, like Project Europe as well. And I think people coming back to, just playing around, experimenting, building, see how it goes.
And being in one place instead of being just remote, what really happened after the COVID, for sure. I'm witnessing this trend as well.
Yeah, true. Exactly. I think everyone is learning how to kind of go back to full time and actually enjoying it. And yeah, I think that's also what I see else. I feel like deep tech and more like, you mentioned previously cybersecurity, of course, defense, and that industry is growing as well, and robotics and deep tech, and a bit the complicated stuff. Space technologies, I think, are also quite rapidly developing. So I think
Yeah.
that's, and I see that, and it's always been like the deep tech and all, the hardware has been a business that requires quite a lot of time, and it's like a long-term involvement, takes quite a lot of years to see the first results. I think now we already are at the phase when those years have been in the past, and now maybe we can see some groundbreaking results or technologies, or with all the space travel and space economy. I feel something cool is coming.
Okay, 100%. But talking about cool, so in the last few years, it became very trendy to join VC, to become an investor, and there was lots of hype. Also becoming a founder, right? So, from your investor side, well, obviously there are some great fun and great title to very interesting area. You are a part of it. What are the struggles and the challenges when you're wearing this hat? Because from the outside, it feels like this industry is very competitive. You are fighting for the best founders. You kind of in the constant FOMO and to really spot that talent in the market. And that comes obviously with lots of stress and responsibility towards your LPs and the fund. So what would be your challenges you are facing as an investor?
I think you did a good good description of all the challenges. Well done.
Thank you. I've been
But,
the best school.
no, but exactly, it is like as an investor running a fund, we are at the end of the day, it's also about the business. Of course, we want to help the founders. We want them to build their business, but then the business should bring back the money, and we have our obligation to repay back to our LPs as well. That's just how it works. So, and there is quite a lot of money out there. I would say there's more money than has, well, now I need to double check the numbers, of course, but it feels that there is more money than it has ever been, or at least quite a lot for the founders to choose from.
In the
But then
Baltics, you mean?
Baltics, I think Nordics, I think in
Mm-hmm.
general, because I was in
Okay.
the morning checking the report from TechEU as well, and there's quite a lot of the biggest rounds in every country, I think, or all the top 6 countries, with the biggest rounds were at least 1 billion. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Okay.
like a huge amount of money. That means that there is money to give to the startups. But of course, as for startups as well as investors, we need to pick the best ones. And there's a clear, I guess, trend when there is something that you see all this, like, all the things click into place for the founder,
Huh?
then a lot of investors want to kind of throw the money at you as well, because, they're going for the business opportunity. So there is fighting, and then it becomes, as a fund, we need to build also our not only our kind of brand or image or the culture or the mindset, how we work. It's not only about the money, but it's also how can we help the founders? How can we open the doors to the different, I don't know, clients or other investors or anything that they need, or how can we support them best? Because at the end of the day, if good founders have, I don't know, 10 term sheets on the table, it's not about the money, how they choose their investor. And yeah, and sometimes it's different, but I think at the end of the day, it's about how we can help that particular founder better. And the
Mm-hmm.
options are different. It can be exactly opening a lot of doors, supporting them with different things.
Okay.
Sometimes, through Wise Guy, when I was working with Wise Guys and going through these, weekly meetings and the challenges with the founders, sometimes also just being there and being able to brainstorm and being able to talk about these challenges and just discuss, I think it's also a huge value add, providing this external perspective.
All right. Okay. So, and how do you differentiate yourself among other funds?
Now I need to think.
How are you visible? Because it
Yeah.
is, we definitely noticed way more funds in the both Nordic Baltic regions and cross countries collaborations. Lots of smaller funds coming out, and yeah, it's becoming more and more maybe difficult to have a strong positioning. So, what's your agenda on that?
Well, first thing that it's very that stands out, we have a presence both in Baltics and Nordics. So we have offices in Riga and also very hands-on offices with 2 partners in Stockholm, which allows us to kind of enter both of these ecosystems much easier than, for someone who is not there on spot. And then, of course, it's all our experience. So this is our first fund, and all of us, all 4 of us, have had different paths in our previous career. So we have quite a lot of network of other investors that usually are interesting for founders to attract the next round. Then it's also, a little bit about clients, corporates trying to test out the pilots, but then I think at the end of the day, I think this is something that everyone can say. It's a network. And it is. At the end of the day, it's all about the network, which doors you can open for the founders. And sometimes it can be the case that, for example, a founder comes to us and we see that we don't have those people in our network. And it's just the case that's that. But I think what we're also telling to some of the founders, and I feel like we're still in that's also is a very big advantage. There's quite a lot of already funds that have been in the market. And of course, they're great. They have network as well. We are, the fund that it's also operating like a startup. We just started last year. This is our
Yeah.
fund, which of course some of people might think, oh, they just started. They haven't built everything yet. Which is a good thing. Well, we have built everything as individuals, but now we need to also prove ourselves as a fund, which means we will do everything that it takes to actually, as a startup, to grow, to help the
Yeah.
founders, and to actually proceed and develop. Because at the end of the day, if we're not doing that, then it's probably going to be our first and last fund. But if we will do everything that it takes, we will fight for you. We will go to to other investors. We will do this hustling game ourselves because we need our founders to succeed for us to be able to succeed as well. And
Okay.
I think that's probably the most different factor that we can say, because we are in the same boat as the early stage founders.
Seems like you're here for a long run. So, Egita, what's your favorite part of the day?
Part of the day, morning.
Morning, yeah? What do you like about your morning?
I like it when it's peaceful and quiet. I'm the morning person, It's because I'm more energetic in the morning and I have like more clarity, and I'm the one who can wake up. Well, if I go to sleep early enough, but I could wake up, at 5 or 6. I'm not trying to do that very often because I don't feel like torturing myself as well. I feel those who have this 5 a.m. club, I'm jealous a little bit. But still, I think the morning when it's peaceful and quiet and I can just be with myself, do my routine,
Okay,
straighten out my thoughts, find my zen.
love it. And are you planning to attend many events this year where people can meet you?
Yeah. So either myself or any of my partners will gonna be on the main events in Baltics. TechChill, Latitude, Startup Fair. We're also going to Startup Day, which is in a couple of days in Tartu. We're also gonna be in several events in Sweden, just because partners office.
Yeah.
And then we'll see. So I think mostly we're investing in the Baltic and Nordic founders. So those are our key events. but then we'll see. Maybe we're coming. We definitely, you can find us in the Baltics for sure. Like for example, 2 weeks, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I was also in Vilnius for a small meetup, and I think we're gonna attend those smaller events as well, because I think
Yeah.
that's a nice chance to actually meet the founders and talk to them. Because big events are amazing, but then it's also you have limited time and like time resources as well to meet everyone.
And what's the best way to approach you guys for a founder?
For a founder, of course, well, there's like a very basic thing. If you don't know any of us, you can just apply on our website. We have this pitch us. You can reach out to us on LinkedIn. But of course, I always say it's much nicer if you can find someone who already knows us and makes a recommendation. Then it's, that gives you extra credit points. First, you just stand out in the crowd. But if you can't do that, just write, I don't know, if you, for example, you can invite me on LinkedIn. I really like when people write a little bit of description. Why? Not just randomly
Same.
send. Even you can tell like, oh, I listened to this amazing podcast and I saw you speaking, and I would love to connect and talk about my startup. That's actually really nice, because I know where like, how did you find out about us and me, and I know the intentions. So
Awesome. Love it. And any final thoughts for the audience who is here with us listening to just, I don't know, continue their day, get inspired, or move the needle with a project they've been working on and paused?
Oof, being the inspiration.
Of course.
Yeah, for me, it's always, well, I don't know if it's going to be inspiring. It's sometimes inspiring for me. So please forgive me if whoever is listening. It's about overcoming the fears, because I think you grow as a person. Like I mentioned, like I have like the first time when I went on a stage, it's such a panic. But then the next time you do it, your brain also automatically feels better because you feel more comfortable. And overcoming fears and doing something new is something that when you do it, you actually, I think, I don't know, become smarter, more motivated. And I think to challenge all, like to grow and be inspired, you need to find this motivation. You need to find the persistence of doing. You need to overcome the fears. And then this little trick that helps me sometimes if I'm afraid to do something, or I just think to myself, so what's the worst that could happen? And when I think about it before doing, it's like, you know what? The worst thing that could actually happen is not that bad when I say it out loud. So the failure it could be there, but it's not the end of the world. So with that mind, for me at least, it's so much easier to keep doing the things, because it's about experiencing the process and not being afraid that one thing can lead to something bad.
All right. I couldn't imagine that.
That's why I said
Perfect. Yeah.
it's an interesting way for inspiration.
Very good. I think it's a good way for us to reflect and a great way to continue the day. And I can't believe we're getting closer to the end of January, the first month of the year, which is like I don't know, just flew by, basically. But
yesterday I was talking to someone. It's like I can't imagine. Like I remember waking up on the, I don't know, the 1st or the 2nd of January, and now it's already 18.
Yeah, it's wild. All right, so Egita, thank you so much for finding time this morning to have a conversation, for sharing your views and your journey. After being so long in the startup scene and still sticking here, making the change, being open for founders, and now holding and leading with the flag of the Outlast Fund as well. All the best for you. Have a great, successful year. We can't wait to see what are your next investments and to follow your portfolio and success. And yeah, have a great year ahead. And thank you everyone who joined us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Woohoo!